And now give the floor to the representative of Algeria.
Thank you, Madam President. It is my privilege to deliver this statement on behalf of the A3+, namely Guyana, Mozambique, Sierra Leone, and my own country, Algeria. We extend our gratitude to Mr. Geert Pedersen, Mr. Ramesh Rajasingham, and Mrs. Helen Highford for their briefings. Situation in Syria remains of grave concern to the A3+. We deeply regret that the situation continues to escalate, with several incidents reported the last few weeks, particularly in the north. We believe that the situation could deteriorate further without the concerted effort of the relevant parties and the international community. A resumption of hostilities will only perpetuate insecurity and plunge Syria into violence again. This must be avoided at all costs, and it will severely undermine the gain already made. The A3+ are also concerned about violation of Syria's sovereignties and condemns such violation, which also undermine regional peace and security. We call for full respect of Syria's sovereignty and territorial integrity. The A3+ further calls on all parties to exercise maximum restraint to avoid a regional conflagration. We express our firm belief that the solution to the Syrian crisis is political. It must also be a solution that ensures Syria's sovereignty, unity, independence, and territorial integrity, in accordance with Security Council Resolution 2254, and must be based on an inclusive and Syrian-led political process. We, therefore, call for the early resumption of the Constitutional Committee and appeal to the parties to support the Special Envoy's effort to implement confidence-building measures. The A3+ call upon the international community and key stakeholders to play a more constructive role in Syria and to help its people with renewed vigor toward achieving sustainable peace and prosperity. Madam President, as we engage in negotiation on the declaration of future generations, it is important to bear in mind that the decisions we take today will shape future generations in Syria. According to OCHA, children in Syria are experiencing the worst effects of an unparalleled and complex emergency, with 6.3 million of them needing protection services. 1 million additional Syrian children are now at risk of dropping out from school. More than 500,000 are also likely to go unvaccinated, and over 500,000 more urgently require life-saving treatment for acute malnutrition. Are we going to leave them behind? The current situation is likely to further worsen, with hundreds of facilities and mobile medical teams currently under threat of immediate closure due to funding shortages, thereby placing 14.9 million people at risk of interrupted access to health and nutrition services. Such a catastrophic situation will have intergenerational repercussions. We must act swiftly and urgently to avoid a greater humanitarian catastrophe. In this regard, the A3+ emphasizes the importance of the cross-border mechanism to deliver humanitarian assistance to Syrians. We look forward to the government's early renewal of the Bab al-Salam and the Rai cross-border point. We also stress the need to make full use of all existing mechanisms, including the cross-line mechanism, in reaching those in need in hard-to-reach areas, while acknowledging the generous contribution of donors to the humanitarian response in Syria. The A3+ wish to underscore that humanitarian activity alone will not be sufficient to alleviate the suffering of the Syrian people, with almost 17 million people in need, over half of whom are women. Syria cannot rely solely on humanitarian assistance, but must also benefit from the provision of other necessary services to promote economic recovery. Syria economy today, after 13 years of deep crisis and the impact of unilateral sanction, is struggling to get back on track and to meet the needs of its population. The A3+ believe that in addition to the humanitarian support being extended to Syria, the international community should also engage with the UN and the Syrian government to invest in the early recovery projects and to support the resumption of economic activity in the affected area. Such an investment will help meet the basic needs of the population in a sustainable manner. Such an investment will create the condition for the safe, dignified, and voluntary return of Syrian refugees abroad and IDPs, and such an investment will reduce the dependence of Syrian population on external support. Finally, Madam President, there is no robust peace without development, and there is no prospect for development without peace. The A3 calls for the Syrians to overcome their differences and to engage in a constructive, Syrian-led and Syrian-owned political process with support from the international community that ensure Syria's unity, sovereignty, independence, and territorial integrity. I thank you.
I thank the representative of Algeria for their statement